Mr. Mohammad Farid Alam, CEO, AKD Securities, to please come to the podium.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. At the very outset, let me remind my friends here and update a lot more people that are sitting in the delegates that the AKD group, the group I represent, has had its due share in what is today called Cpec, because many, as I said, will know that AKD had the Gwadar Port concession with PSA Gwadar. So Port of Singapore Authority along with AKD Securities, we got the concession. But now when the two friendly countries decided that the port operations should be handed over to China, our group really came forward and convinced the Singaporeans to hand over the operations, which I think acted as a catalyst, and afterwards the whole pace of the Cpec really grew faster. Today, given the shortage of time, whatever I'll discuss in a few slides is the outcome of my own personal experience as a student of economics and my exposure as an investment banker, where we have taken a few companies to listing. So the ones highlighted in blue represent the energy sector, and as we go forward in the Cpec, we do appreciate that this reality of the stock market, and it cannot be overemphasized that a lot more long-term access to capital will be required, and capital market will play a vital role in giving all the stakeholders and the ones who muster up courage to come forward and have this gigantic size financing arrangements. See, in Pakistan, this load shedding concept is not a new one. I'll just take a few seconds to just remind and take my audience and delegates to even in 1986, it was in the press that the load shedding will be finished by a particular number of years. And each year after and after and after, we've seen that this thing has continued. And when we discuss this, it is not only an economic thing. Energy or the access to energy, it is not only for economics. It goes even beyond economics. It has really created, and we have seen that the riots have taken place because of energy shortage and crisis. I've just given you a glimpse of what it is. But it wasn't that we always were deficient and short of energy. There have been times in our history that when we have a surplus with energy. On the extreme left, you can see that we had surplus, but it didn't really continue. When we got this industrialization pace, so the demand and the supply really has taken some bad numbers. But the good news is that the Cpec and in the Cpec projects, this is not entirely dependent on the fossil fuel. This is on some of the projects are in hydro, wind power, and solar. But yes, I do recognize that the ratio of the alternate energy is quite less. I'll skip a few for the paucity of time. Well, this is important for us to understand, and Sheikh Saab also mentioned this, that in Pakistan, we are giving the electricity to the industry, and the cost is as against the average of 14.4 kilowatt hour in the region. We are just better than Sri Lanka. So if the industry average is 14.4, we are giving to the industrial tariff that we have is 18.8. And that is where the shoe pinches for the industrialist, that their cost of doing business is not really getting any better day by day. Because in the next slide, you will see that our industrial or the energy mix is tilted towards fossil. So the imported inflation or imported fuel is really adding to the cost of energy generation in Pakistan. Second point where the shoe pinches and the hard reality is at the bottom of this, that the domestic accounts for about 51%. So whatever we produce and we give it to the consumer, more than 50% of that goes to the consumption as against to industry, because if this front-loaded projects, if the return on equity is not met, and if this economic activity, God forbid, does not really generate well and in good time, the issues or the concerns may become a bit too much for the balance of payment will have to be really taken care of. Because as I told you and I shown in the slide, that 51% of the electricity being generated goes to the consumption. Iqbal Saab really pointed out that the model to look forward to, and here China can help us, that, one minute more? Okay. So China is obviously ahead in many ways, and the concept that we are aiming for in the times to come is the wholesale power markets. And if I could see it here, it would have been easier, but I have to each time look back. So the wholesale power market is something which we as a nation should be eyeing at, because it has the system we are following. It really does not encourage the efficient players to really take advantage of the efficiencies, because it is just jumbles up, because we all know that there is one buyer of electricity. Here it is important that a lot of people say that the two ways to look at while setting up a project is this near the load factor or the raw material factor. For example, I have been confused that the import on any power generation on imported coal should be on the port side or where the navigatable river is available, or as against Sahiwal or any other place where all the coal is to be carried through, or logistics have to be managed in a way which really gives all the system, which really chokes all the road system. Because if I understand correctly, I'm not an expert in energy, that it has to be rather in the pipeline, then railway, and then trucks. But there are a lot of things that we in the conferences can only discuss. It needs a workshop thing. It's a study groups where our concerns and the exposure that the Chinese people have, we can sit together and work out something which is beneficial for us, because there's no point reinventing the wheel. If the elder brother has done exceptionally well, I think we should be taking cue from what China has already done. And coming to my last slide, this is in China. If you see that reddish part, this is their industry. So whatever it's being produced, and that's the Chinese strength, is that the consumption is not that fatal as in Pakistan. I just told you in 51% of the electricity being generated goes to consumption, as against 7% Googled in China. Due to paucity of time, I tried to skip through a few slides, but thank you very much for your patience listening. Thank you.